Hey everyone, CX here with an in-depth review of Ad Infinitum. From the depths of the war-torn mind to the desolate trenches of World War I, Ad Infinitum touched some super deep and very heavy topics that may not be suitable for all viewers, so this is just discretion to everyone that's watching. But without further ado, there are two things that Ad Infinitum does very, very well, and that's the story, and the visuals of the games are absolutely phenomenal. But before I dive into the story of the game, I want to discuss some of the flaws that haunt this game that you start to notice the further you get into your playthrough and become blaringly obvious. The first issue that this game holds is the horror aspect of this game can feel very lacking at times. While there are some times that the game is a bit spooky, it just feels like there's a lot of missed opportunities to make the player jump a couple feet out of their chair. While I'd mentioned the visuals of this game are amazing, and trust me, the monsters look phenomenally fucking creepy, it's just not enough to actually strike fear into the heart of the player when facing the enemy, as there are very, very little areas where there are legitimate threats compared to games like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, that last series, and Amnesia, just to name a few that are pretty similar to how this game operates. The second issue that I have with this game is the puzzles, and the main issue that I have with the puzzles isn't that, you know, they're too challenging or anything. It's that some of them are really challenging and fun, and then there's other ones that are just super easy and they just don't require much to do. Like the first couple 3 puzzles are really, really good, like where you have to make the acid to melt the chains on the doors, or you have to use the paintings to access the attic, or changing the directions of the valves to redirect the steam. But those are about the extent that it goes for challenging puzzles. After those 3 ones, it's pretty straightforward, as most problems with the puzzles, especially moving forward, are literally just caused by accidentally glossing over something rather than actually being stumped by a legitimate problem. A good example of accidentally glossing over something with the puzzles is there's a puzzle where you have to unlock a locker by using a code that you find in a filing cabinet, essentially, and the only issue that I ran into with that puzzle was I forgot to answer the phone. I have no idea. Oh my god. Okay. Casper and Rudolph. Which is just, it kind of just shows that with some of those puzzles there wasn't much time or effort put into it, or at least that's what it feels like. And the third and final issue with this game isn't something that is super big, and it's something I'll hope be fixed very soon, but it's just that the game is kind of buggy off release, which most games honestly are. Something I will give to the game is that the bugs I encountered weren't anything massive. They're nothing like Cyberpunk level. The biggest bug I ran into was falling through the map, but I just quickly pressed restart and that fixed my issue and I didn't have it again. Oh my god. What just happened? Yeah, I think I just bugged the game. Yeah, I for sure just bugged the game. Hold up, we're gonna have to reload from last checkpoint. Overall, the game be pretty janky at times, but in my opinion, it doesn't ruin the game or ruin the experience too much, so I don't think it's that big of a flaw, and I honestly think it's something that'll be fixed over time. And now that I was able to discuss some of the blaring flaws of the game, I also want to move on to something that I think makes this game great. What I think makes this game great is the story. This is what really allows the game to shine, as this game is played through the perspective of a World War I soldier who's suffering from PTSD and family drama that only guides you down a darker path. Throughout the story, you're constantly grappling between 2 different realities, one of them being your childhood manor and the other being the trenches of World War I, filled with only something you would find in your nightmares. Throughout your time between these 2 realities, there's a mirror that you have to rebuild. Throughout the course of the game, you'll encounter boss fights, which will alter the course of your gameplay through the mirror using the idea of almost self-reflection. The boss fights seem to represent something of an emotional burden to the character, as the boss's names are despair, rage, corruption, and pain. You have different ways of handling these boss fights, with a good and a bad way of beating the boss. The good way is sort of a peace coming with the emotional burden that you're carrying that allows your character to move on. Am I supposed to? Okay. Okay. She is not happy about that. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, I made it way past the plane crash. but the bad way results in killing the burden, which only results in the idea of repressing the emotion which allows it to keep control. Or at least that's what I had gotten from it, and from looking at what other people are saying, that's relatively what they got from it as well, so I'm sticking with it. The story of Ad Infinitum goes very deep, and it conveys its ideas in some amazing and beautiful ways, whether it be breathtaking cinematics of the game or the gut-wrenching monsters that can send shivers down your spine. Overall, Ad Infinitum is a great game that would have benefited greatly from more grasping horror aspects along with some more interesting puzzles, something to keep the player engaged a little bit more, but is greatly carried from the story and the visuals of the game. Overall, I would rate this game about a 7.5 out of 10, and I would absolutely recommend this game as it's not super expensive compared to other games, and with Halloween coming up, it's a great horror game to immerse yourself in. It almost reminds me of something like Layers of Fear. If anybody's played that, it's a super great psychological horror game, kind of same idea around it. I definitely recommend both of them. But thank you guys for watching the video, and please consider liking and subscribing as it helps a ton. But until next time, guys, peace.